All right, we're live, and this is the Serrano home team, and it's 2 o'clock Monday, and this is it. This is our time to share with you guys. We love this because this isn't really by us or for us. This is by you guys and for you guys. This is geared by your questions, your comments, the feedback that we get from you guys, and then we add that in on a weekly basis to just share with you guys. So I'm excited. Today's step 2, and of our success strategies. I'll let my wife, Jessica, go from there.
So we have so many viewers. Is what's really cool about this live feed book, or feed for Facebook, is that some of you join us live, which is great because we can interact, and then all the views afterwards have just been awesome. Reading all the comments, meeting people in the street, getting to talk with them. So we just love that you guys shared with us last time just about what worked with you when we talked about filling it up, and we talked about that fuel that we need to give our minds, bodies, and spirits each and every day. And the one takeaway we really wanted you guys to grab was that spiritual triathlon that we do first thing in the morning. It literally takes 15 minutes, and I think you guys got it, because a lot of people came to us and just said, I did the 15 minutes. I might not have done anything else, but I did those 15 minutes, and just how crazy it is how the rest of your day seems to align once you have that Holy Spirit.
Yeah. As we get going here for the next few minutes, if you're joining us, make sure you say hi.
Hi, Jamie.
And then share it so that we can really spread the message of health and success. So first, we want to review what happened last week. Last week we talked about there's 5 steps that we walk through as a family on a consistent basis. Pretty much every quarter we go through these 5 steps, and we kind of gauge ourselves. We see where we are, and these 5 steps help us move forward as a family. So step number 1 was filling up, and that's what Jessica just talked about, was the spiritual triathlon. And we love that so many people started to participate in that and actually put that in their morning routine. The second step, which we're going to talk about today, is measuring the gap, and I'll explain that here in a second. The third step, I'm just going to kind of review these here, is dream again. And then the fourth step is create the habit. We have to create the habit. And then the last one is war planning, which is, I think, my favorite one, and it's transformed our lives in the way we run things. So here we go, measuring the gap. What does that really mean? Well, when we talk as a family, and we started early on with this stuff, I have a business. My wife used to, has ran classrooms, and there has to be structure. There has to be things that you measure. When you're testing kids, there's measurements that they look at. When you're looking at a business, there's measurements to know, hey, are you going to be able to stay in business? Is it succeeding or is it not? So same thing happens in our family. There has to be some guide or some measurements. And here's the issue that I see with a lot of people when they do goal setting, or when they do the New Year's resolutions type stuff, is that we measure the wrong gap. So let me kind of use this backboard over here. So we have our past, right? I hope you can see that over there. Then you have the present, and then you have the future. So here's the thing. This is where we are. We're in the present right now, right? This is today. And then we have all these expectations or goals or things that we want to accomplish in the future, right? And what happens is when New Year's comes, or when you start to set these goals, what happens is you start to measure the gap from where you are to where you want to be, or where that future looks like, which it's good to know. You have to know that. We want to have a plan for where we want to get to, but here's the problem. This is a setup for failure. This is a setup for negative self-talk, because this future is forever changing, right? Even with our family, there's certain things that we've talked about in goals that we had early on that have drastically changed now. Because I believe that once we start to get closer to the goal, or even accomplish a goal, that's God's opportunity to open up a whole new thought process or level for you to move to. For if this is a financial goal, right? If you say, hey, I want to. If anybody has done Dave Ramsey, I want to save my $1,000. That's my quick emergency fund, right? And you get to $1,000, you don't stop there. Then it opens up to other possibilities of, hey, now I got to go to the next step. So we're measuring the wrong gap. What we have to measure is we have to look at the present, look back to the past, and you start to measure where you've come from. That's a totally different way of looking at your goals. Do you want to say anything, talk about that at all? Or?
No, I think it's just...
there you go.
No, I think that's really important because sometimes we have this emotional attachment to our goals and not meeting them. I know you can feel like a lot of guilt, like especially, if you have like a pound, your goal is to learn a certain amount of pounds and you only, lose like 10 instead of 20, and we start to, digress and we start to feel those emotions like, oh man, I missed the mark. And a lot of times we just, paralyze ourselves. It's like, oh, I give up. I'm not going to go to my next step. But when you look at the past, like he was saying, you get to see that growth. You get to see the steps that you've made, the changes that you've made. And I feel like it gives you more of a hopeful perspective on what can come next, that you are making progress.
And it's so biblical. Like we don't ever sit back and think about our faith and say, hey, we've achieved this goal of faith. It doesn't work that way, right? What happens is, hey, I just saw Suzanne, Miss Matthews, hey, say hi. As you guys get on, just make sure you say hi, you share this.
So we can questions?
Questions, because we'll answer those as we're live here. But it's like our faith, right? We never say we got there. You're always growing and you're always seeking that relationship with Christ and you're always getting closer and you want to continue to grow that. But when you look back, you get to see the growth. You always look back, you're like, wow, remember where we were even 3 years ago with our faith, or last year, or after this weekend, right? This past weekend.
3 days ago.
So it's just neat to see that growth. So that's how we want to think about what Jessica's going to show you here in a second. And this is a tool that we have used now for years. And this is a tool that we will forever use probably, because we just love how it takes that mentality of where are we going, and are we growing? Are we moving forward? So,
okay, here we go. So the tool is called the Wheel of Life. And if you want to Google a template for this or simply grab a sheet of paper, it's super easy to make. And like he said, it was something we might do every quarter, every week at the beginning. It's just to gauge where you are, not just in your business, but in your life in general. So how this thing works is, I'm going to try to draw as well. But we have a wheel. So this is going to be your circle, your wheel of life, as we like to call it. We're going to have 8 categories of life. There we go. Nice spokes on a wheel. And on each of these lines here, we're going to label a different area of life. So I'll go ahead and name some of those. I'm just going to write abbreviations, but we have health.
Just put the letter. We'll put these in the comments.
Yeah, we'll go ahead. I think I wrote down adventure, like the fun, the adventure in your life. What else do we have, babe? Relationships. I think this was financial. We'll do family, career. Help me out.
Personal growth.
Personal.
And spiritual.
Growth and spiritual.
And we'll put all 8 categories in the comments below. So we have a crying little one
baby
in the back, so I'm gonna let her go deal with that, and I'll finish up here. All right. So our Wheel of Life, and the way this Wheel of Life works, and it's awesome. So every quarter, Jess and I will sit down, and we start to categorize our certain areas. And what we do is the middle's a 0. Out here would be a 10. So last quarter, yeah, it was Atlas. Last quarter, I look at my spiritual life. Hey, was I doing my spiritual triathlon? Was I really growing? Not just going to church and punching a clock, but was I really growing in my faith? Was I doing things that are going to grow me spiritually? And I rate that. Was I a 0? Did I just didn't do anything? Or was it closer to a 10? And you put a dot there. And you do this for every category: health, personal finances, career. So 2 things are going to happen. You can have a wheel that looks like this, and when you connect the dots, everything looks kind of right around the center, right? There's no peaks or valleys. This is, hey, she's back. He's good. Is he good?
Yes.
Okay.
Sweet child.
Do you want to explain where you were with this one, when you were kind of all?
Oh yeah. So when I first did this, probably 4 years ago at camp, and I went through and started kind of writing down where I was at in each category. I was at maybe like a 4 consistently in each category. So I was at about a 4 for a family, 4 for relationships, and so on. And, you know, a lot of times we look at that and say, oh, I have such a well-balanced life. Like, my wheel is turning, everything's so balanced. When actually I was just really living a very vanilla life. There wasn't any areas that were really pushing me forward, where I was struggling, where I was getting out of my comfort zone to really make some progress. So a lot of times I tell people, like, I was vanilla. It's pretty boring kind of life. I mean, it was running, but there wasn't anything to strive after. There wasn't, I wasn't really letting God show me his faithfulness.
So one way to use the wheel of life is you're going to look at that, and if you have a really, really nice rounded circle, I'm going to challenge you to really think outside the box on some of these. What I think the wheel should look like, there should be some balance there, but every season of life has different challenges and different adventures that you're on. You know, right now, but for the last 2.5 years, we opened up a new practice. So my career was way out here, and then my let me see, which one was it? The financial one was pretty low, so it was really off center because everything was going into the business financially, right? So and that's okay. There should be times in your life, like right now, I would say my family one is off the charts. Like I'm doing our, every week I take the kids out individually for a specific time. We do our date nights. I mean, and we're just pouring a lot into our family. So our families are just off the charts right now, and that's what we want right now. But at the end of the quarter, we're going to measure, see if there's any gaps or any ones that we're lacking, and say, hey, is this an area that we need to grow in? Is this an area we want to push the envelope on? So.
And also, I think it would be good to do it as a couple, and to kind of sit down and compare what your feelings are, perspectives on your wheel of life, because you never want your family or your spirituality to be at a 1 or a 2. Yeah. Consistently. I mean, that's a big issue if everything is consistently going into the business and nothing is going into the family or your relationship with your spouse. So just to sit down and like get on the same page. If you have, I see this a lot, but with moms, like mom is into family, like they're a 10 consistently every day, and dad's at a 1. That's like a conversation you need to talk through. So yeah. It's just a great tool to.
Let me show you the tool. It looks like this. It's just a wheel of life.
Backwards?
And you can just Google that, Wheel of Life. There's a bunch of templates online. There's a bunch of templates online. So yeah. So share this. And the last thing we wanted to talk about was I found, I believe, one of the healthiest coffees in the world.
It's not Starbucks.
Yes, it's not Starbucks. Yeah, or Dunkin' Donuts, which is right next to us. But it's. I'll put this in a link in the notes. I forgot to actually grab the bag, but it's Camano Island Coffee.
Spell that because I didn't have it.
I'll put it in the comments.
Okay.
It's Camano Island Coffee, and I've actually communicated with them and talked to them, and I'll put a link in there that if you use the link, they're actually going to give you your first bag for free.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's an ethical source coffee. They help local communities around the world obviously grow their economy. It's all organic. There's
fair trade.
They're fair trade. I mean, they're the top 1% of coffees out there, and it's affordable, and it's neat because love me some coffee. I know we do too. And by the way, there's a lot of misconceptions on coffee. I'm not going to get into this a lot, but a lot of people think that coffee's bad for you. And maybe I'll do a whole another show on coffee and all the health benefits that are in coffee. Now, what I would say about coffee is that if you absolutely are going to be drinking coffee, it has to be organic. You cannot get regular non-organic coffee because it's laced with pesticides and just a bunch of just toxic stuff and chemicals they use to process it and all that stuff. So you can go on their website. I'll put it in the links, and you'll be able to see all the different things they use and how to grow it and roast it and all that stuff. Mm-hmm. And so awesome. Hey, if you guys love this, make sure you share it. Give us some likes. This helps spread the message. Remember, last week was on filling up and how we filled up. This week was the wheel of life and measuring the gap. So remember, we don't want to just look at it from the future to the present. We want to start measuring the gap from where we've been and where we've come from. When you start measuring that gap, you really start to see the progress. You start to get encouraged, and it makes you want to continue to move forward towards that future goal. So measure the gap, measure the right gap, and use the wheel of life. And next week, we'll go to step 3.
And I think we're going to be talking about coffee again. Either coffee or